Good evening, good evening. How's everybody doing here on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters? Hope everybody's doing great. Uh, I'm just here chilling outside with my two dogs, uh, Rebel and Rocky. They wanted to come outside, so I'm just sitting outside, making this live feed just to see who's awake. I want to send out a shout out to one of my good friends, Michael Moran. He's got the COVID right now, so we're keeping him in prayer. Been keeping him in prayer. So if you could send him angels of protection and healing for him to remain with some positive thinking and a love foundation, so we can overcome uh, the COVID that he's going through right now. But as for me, I'm doing well. Well, I almost lost connection there. I'm sitting outside. I guess my internet is not that good. Uh, Might have to get me a different provider. I don't know who's here with me right now. I see a couple of people that are popping up right now. I was making this video for those that share some stories. I don't know who's here with me right now or who's viewing. Uh, Wanted to talk about, you know, people know them as night owls, but I want to share a couple of stories with y'all of lechuzas, how we say it in Spanish, lechuzas. You know, who's better? You know, it's kind of weird how, you know, like certain cultures, they have certain myths, right? Like Spanish, with the Spanish, we got La Llorona, we got lechuzas, and which are supposed to be witches, and other folklore in the Spanish, and every culture it's different. But lechuzas, you know, supposedly lechuzas, which good evening, Sister Bexley. Lechuzas are supposed to be, uh, uh, as far as I can remember, of what was told to me of the lechuzas, which is supposed to be like an owl. You know, I've seen white owls, giant white owls, and giant black owls. But a lechuza is supposed to be a witch that can manifest or transform itself into a giant owl or in that nature. You know that it can manifest and take shapes. You know, so I wanted to share some stories with y'all that I can remember from back in the day when I was growing up of the lechuza. Y'all can look it up. What a lechuza is, Lechusa. It's either SA or ZA, but I believe it's SA. Uh, Lechuzas, you know, has been in the culture, the Hispanic culture, as far as I can remember. I would hear the stories that people would say till I had my own encounters. You know, say when you hear a lechuza, or you know, owl, people call owls, whistling. The lechuzas that make a whistling sound at nighttime. It sounds like this. It's like a screech, right? And I don't know if it uses a sonar or what, but they come out at night to hunt. So let's say if you whistle back to that screech or the noise that it's making, that the lechuza will come back and it'll try to attack you because I guess you're in its radar or whatever. So it comes at you and you're not supposed to whistle back because it's not good. You know, those are the things that I was told when I grew up about lechuzas, how they could come and they follow you home when you whistle back at them. That they'll follow you home. They can come and try to scratch you with their claws or their talons, whatever the claws. That they can chase you and they'll follow you home and they'll stalk you. You know, they'll stalk you for days. And that's a saying about that you're not supposed to whistle back to a lechuza. And I want to share a couple of stories of that I remember when I was growing up about lechuzas. which is supposedly. I'll tell you a couple of stories. I'm going to say a couple of stories, and then we can talk about it more in detail. I mean, for whoever wants to has got the time to listen. I remember a story from back home, and I remember this. It's not a story. It's not a story. It's a real thing that happened. They said that there was this giant, you know, a bird, right, that had landed on top of the courthouse. It landed on top of the courthouse, and they were seeing this big bird, which it was a lechuza on top of the courthouse, and then they couldn't see it no more. They couldn't see it, so people from the courthouse, and this happened in Willacy County, and the courthouse was only like 3 blocks away from 3 blocks. One, two, 3 blocks away from where I lived, and it was down the same street because I lived down the main street. So people had gathered up, because they said they seen this lechuza on top of the courthouse. It was on top of the courthouse. So, and the police station or the jailhouse was right across the courthouse. So there was already people gathered there, and people started gathering up. We went walking up the street, and they were trying to find this lechuza because they said that it was this person said they seen it as a lechuza, which was a big owl, and that then they seen a man up there, that it wasn't the lechuza no more, that there was a man up there. So they called the police and the people from the courthouse, and they were unlocking the doors and they want to go upstairs to top of the roof to see what was up there. So as they went up on top of the roof, they found something up there. They found a man that was naked on top of the roof. He was like literally naked, no clothes, just butt naked. And they were trying to figure out how he got up there on top of the roof, right? So there's a story the man said to them, because I guess he didn't want to be arrested, but they got him for being naked. But he said that he was a warlock, and that he was traveling from San Antonio to Mexico, because he was from Mexico. That he was traveling from San Antonio to Mexico, that he had gone to a convention, a warlock or witches convention, and he was flying, and that he got tired, so he decided to stop on top of the courthouse, and that's when everything happened. So they busted this guy, that he wasn't even a native of, he was an American, he was from Mexico, and they caught him naked on top of the thing. He said that he was flying in the form of a lechuza, and that was his story. Now, whether it was true or not, I do not know, but I remember when they arrested the guy, they put on something on him, but he was naked, and that was a story of that. That was a story that happened back in the 1970s. In the 1970s, there was a lot of sightings of this lechuzas, or like I said, there were some white ones and there were some black ones, and which we know that there's white owls, there's black owls, there's brown owls, but this black ones, which is supposed to be the warlocks, the witches, that those are the people that supposedly have sold their soul already, that they have those abilities to manifest into these creatures, or into shapeshift into something like that. There was another story that happened to us. Who was coming from up north, and we used to go working up in Arkansas, and we were coming back from working from the summer. It was coming into Texas. I can't remember where in Texas we were coming through, and there was this DPS on the road. There was this DPS on the road, and he had blocked the road, and he had said that the road up ahead was closed, that we had to go the road he was pointing us to, which was a pavement road. So he detoured us a different direction, right? So this is in the 1970s, like 1976, 78, somewhere around there, 79. So we start going down this road, and we're traveling down the road, and we had a station wagon. The station wagon that we had two gas tanks, so we could travel a while, with both of the tanks full. But we traveled all that night. We're traveling that night because it was daytime when he detoured us. The sun was fixing to set, so we're traveling down this road. As we're traveling down this road, it was my mom, my dad, all my brothers and sisters were in the station wagon, right? We're traveling down this road, and all of a sudden, we see a bright light shine. Somebody in the back in the truck, they hit us with some lights and some spotlights up on top, hit us, and it's trying to run us off the road. So we're going down this road, and then the road becomes a dirt road, and that's what it became, as a dirt road. It wasn't even a pavement road no more. And we're trying to find a main road, and we couldn't find a main road. So we was driving down this road, and all night, this vehicle kept on hitting us with the brights, trying to run us off the road. But the station wagon was pretty fast. It had a powerful motor, so it was a Ford, so it was going fast. And as we're traveling, we seen like this big old white building. Looked like an old structure building. As we see this structure building, you can see all these blackbirds up there, these black owls, lechuzas, what we know as lechuzas. They were standing there, and then all of them start flying and coming towards us. All the lechuzas, that were there, they started coming flying toward the station wagon, and they started hitting on the sides. They were hitting our station wagon on the sides, like bumping the bodies of this big old lechuzas. They were hitting our truck, and it was moving back. Station wagon was moving back and forth. They were coming through up on top, and they were scratching the top of the station wagon. You could hear the talons where they're scratching the station wagon, and we're getting attacked by this lechuzas. As we're getting attacked, the vehicle's getting attacked by this, and by this giant lechuzas, these birds. And my mom starts praying. She starts praying the Our Father, and we all start praying because we're getting attacked by a vehicle that's trying to run us off a road that we don't know who it is. And we're not stopping to find out who it is. And then this black lechuzas, owls, start attacking our vehicle. They literally stop, come and attack the vehicle. And for those who know, owls normally don't do that. They don't attack a vehicle because they go hunting for its own prey, right? They hunt for other things like rabbits and other things in the night. Well, these giant birds, lechuzas, they kept on coming and attacking the station wagon. So it was hitting the sides. They were flying beside us. Looking at us, and they were hitting. They hit the bodies. Boom! They hit the station wagon, trying to run us off the road. So we can lose control. My dad kept on driving down the road, and my mom kept on praying, and it was like that all night. We was fighting all night with this giant blackbirds, the lechuzas, now owls, that were attacking our vehicle, and a car that was behind us trying to run us off the road. So luckily that we had two tanks of gas, so we was running out of gas. But by the time we was fixing to run out of gas, the sun started rising. It happened all night. The sun started rising, and we finally got back to a main road. So we got back to this main road. There was this gas station there. So we got off the vehicle, and we inside the store. It was an old store. The gas tanks that were there, they were old, from back, they're old style. And there was a man in there. He just had like a meat market in there, where I guess they would sell meat. And we asked if we could fill up the vehicle with the gas, and they didn't want to service us. They didn't want to get us. They didn't want to give us no gas. I guess back in those times, there still was, racism. It was white folks. So they didn't want to give us no gas. So we're outside and we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do it. And Then we seen a, DPS pass by, and my dad, he waved down this DPS. So the DPS came, and we told him what was going on. We told him what was going on. They didn't want to give us no gas, so the DPS made them give us gas, and he was there to we were able to fill up our gas tank, and we got out of there. Uh, when that happened to me, it reminded me when I see that movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It reminds me of something like that, of what I seen, how the vehicle was trying to run us off the road, and this giant birds or lechuzas was hitting the station wagon, scratching the station wagon. You know, those that does exist. And it happened to us. So I'm just sharing stories of how night owls, lechuzas, how in the Spanish culture lechuzas are supposed to be witches or warlocks that can manifest into this owls, that they take their form. There was another time that I remember at our house. Uh, every Saturday, every Saturday around the same time frame, around 10 o'clock at night, you know, uh, we'd be at our house, and all of a sudden, it's like the same activity would happen all the time, where every Saturday night we could hear somebody banging on the outside of the house. We could hear pounding underneath the house because our house was on pillars. We could hear like running on top of the roof, and we could hear this lechuzas where they're scratching their talons by the tree. You guys, they're scratching the talons, and you could hear like the voice of women talking. Where for at the beginning, we was afraid to go outside, but as I got older, because it would happen all the time, I said, you know what, I'm not afraid of this lechuzas or witches, whatever they are. So I'm gonna go outside, and I'm gonna send them away. So one day I got the courage to go outside. I guess I was like 10 years old. I went outside, and we had the front light on, but there would be by the side of our house where it was dark and there was some trees, and I could see them the these giant owls. They looked like owls, but they were big. They looked like a woman in a black dress, right? So I would pick up the caliche, which is big old rocks, and I would throw them. I would throw them at this because I didn't see feathers. Like I said, it looked like women dressed in black, on top of the tree. So I would hit them with the rocks. I started throwing the rocks, and I was connecting. I used to be in Little League. I was a pitcher. So I was hitting them hard. Boom, boom, But as I would hit them hard, they wouldn't fly away. It's like, that's how, like, there was the big old rocks I was throwing and hitting them with wasn't doing nothing to them. Like, they wouldn't fly away. So they were there, and then, I guess my grandmother, she came out to see what was going on, and I told her about there was some lechuzas on the side of the house. So she went over there and she said something. She started praying something, saying something. Next thing you know, those giant birds, they just were lechuzas. To me, they looked like women because I really didn't see no feathers. They were just on top of the trees. Uh, they flew away. They got up the trees and they left. Then she comes and tells me that they were gone, that everything was okay. But I just wanted to share that story of a whoever doesn't know about lechuzas in the Hispanic heritage or culture. Lechuzas, like I said before, is supposed to be witches or warlocks that can manifest into this giant owls, that they take that form. That's what they can do, shapeshift or manifest into something like that. Now I would hear a lot of stories how some people will battle these lechuzas, witches, where some people knew how to do a certain prayer. They'll say, and this is the people that would practice the black arts, I guess, where they would say the Our Father backwards or something like that, and they had it like a crucifix, and they could capture a lechuza, and once they captured her, that they would turn back into the form of the woman, you know. And I heard a story of somebody that captured a lechuza, or a witch that was in the form of a lechuza, that they captured her in that manner, saying the Our Father backwards through the crucifix, you know. But you know, that's more like black magic versus magic, you know. And I'm just talking about the stories that I would hear, you know. But they do exist. The lechuzas down there in South Texas, where I come from. Like I said, I remember there being many down there in South Texas. How you doing, Primo Jesse? Yes, they can shapeshift, Sister Bexley. Uh, they can shapeshift. They can manifest into many things. The witches and the warlocks, and you know how I was telling you that we call them lechuzas, which they can. I guess it's another term that is another term. I can't remember the name, the mythological name, but I know there was a being where they say that it was a woman's face, but it was the body of a bird, and I believe that might be the same thing. The mythology creature. I just can't remember the name of the creature in mythology, but that they had that ability. There was one day, and this happened. Man, I'm telling you, one day there in Elms Grove, she was a witch. There was a lot of them down there. Cousin Jesse, they would do that. They would go. What they would do is they when they had, because you know there was a lot of witches down there. You know, I remember when I would run at nighttime. One time I was running at nighttime and I seen something. I seen like a fire out there in an open field down. Uh, First, you pass the first street, you pass the Canalito, and you go down over there to the stop sign where the bridge is. Well, I used to run down that road, and I seen a fire in one of the fields. You know, this is late at night. So I run down the dirt road, you know, and I start slowing down. And I'm looking, I see a lot of cars parked, and I see this cars parked out there. I see a lot of people dressed in black, you know, and they were out there. They had a fire going on, and they were all dressed in black. They had hoodies and everything. So I figured it was a part of a cult, or you know, warlocks and witches that were having their little convention or something like that. But I remember that, witnessing that. But yeah, there's many down there that they would practice that a lot down there in the Rio Grande Valley, Raymondville, all those towns. There was a lot of that, a lot of cult activity or witchcraft. That, as far as I can remember. But yes, they do exist. And it's dealing with a lot of them. They had already sold their soul to their soul was sold, so that they had those abilities to be able to do those kind of things. Can manifest into certain things, you know. But it's sad because a lot of those people, they're already, their soul is already doesn't belong to them no more. Their soul is gone, and they're gone. If they're gone, they're already gone somewhere else because of the deal they made, the pact they made. And there was a lot of that kind of activity down there in South Texas, cousin. You know, and it's everywhere actually, not just there, but like even in Killeen. Yeah, down in the valley, they were everywhere. There, you will see even the shadow people down there in the Rio Grande Valley. The shadow people, which was to me disembodied Nephilim or demonic spirits that will follow us during the night out there. Do you remember the time where we had gone to the store and I parked behind the coastal, and you want to go buy a beer, and I told her, hey cousin, what's that coming down the street? And we seen this big old dark object coming at us real fast, and I started the truck. That was after I had the encounter of what happened to me out there in the cemetery, where it lifted the back of the truck. I said it was a dark object behind the truck that lifted, and when I got home, I was by the cemetery that he had ripped the tailgate off. Then we went to the store, and that's when it started coming down the road, and you seen it coming and you said, "Hey, start it up, cuz, start it up," and it was just something dark, big, black coming at us pretty fast, and we made it home. Well, that's the kind of activity that I've always seen, not just in the valley. I would see it when we used to go work up north, up in Anton, Texas. We used to go work up there at the ranch where we lived. I could see those dark figures over there too. It's like it was following us around everywhere we went. I remember seeing them out there at the ranch. We used to go work. You could see these dark figures, and Lechuza's out there also. But I believe it was dealing with spiritual hits. Spiritual hits. So they were able to track us down. Spiritually. But you can see the dark shadow figures come around the home, sometimes by the windows, and they'll be by the windows, and they can mimic voices. They can mimic. I remember one time during the day I would see Grandpa Joe, who would be working in the fields, behind me all the time. And then I asked my mom, "Is that Grandpa Joe?" Because I would see him the way he would dress. But then one night there was somebody talking to her out the window, and it sounded like Grandpa Joe. But it was a dark figure, and it was telling my mom to be careful, But it was it was telling her to be careful because there's some things that was going to happen. But it was a dark shadow figure talking to my mom in the form of his voice, because those beings, right, dark shadow figures, disembodied Nephilim, they can mimic the voices of our loved ones. They could take the form and to deceive us. But he was trying to warn her, this dark figure that I seen speaking to her one night. This was before everything happened when we came back from the ranch back to Raymondville. The last summer that we spent together, there was a lot of activity happening in that manner. There was one night that I was asleep, right? I was asleep, and my brother was sleeping. Robert was sleeping by me, so we were sleeping. We're tired from working in the fields all day, and next thing you know, I'm asleep, but I feel like my face is getting pressed against something, and I'm thinking, when I'm opening my eyes, I'm thinking that I fell off the bed on the floor, right? Because my face is pressing on something hard, right? So as I shake it off and I'm trying to get up from the floor, well, really, I'm not on the floor. When I move my face like this to look, I'm up elevated towards the ceiling. My face is pressing against the ceiling. And as I'm looking down, it's like I'm elevated up in the air. My whole body's elevated, rubbing against the ceiling. And my brother Robert wakes up, and he said, "Oh shit!" He gets up. I can see him jump up out of the bed and takes off running out of the room. And next thing you know, my whole body just falls. Boom! And I hit the bed. I bounce off the bed and land on the ground. And I get up, and like, what the hell's going on, And I go to the front room, and we're trying to tell my mom what's going on, But there was a lot of activity towards the end that was happening that how should I say, we never really got to talk to nobody about, because how my mom was, how she didn't want nobody to know nothing. That if something happened, we had to take care of within the family, whatever. But there was a lot of activity like that happening. There was another thing that happened. We were working in the field, right? And she was behind me, and I was in front of her, working the rows with a hoe, taking out the weeds out of the field. Next thing you know, what happened is she screamed, right? When she screamed, I turned around and I said, "What's the matter, Mom?" And I ran towards her, and she said, she was frozen, she couldn't move, right? And she was looking down, she wasn't saying nothing, and what I saw was a rattlesnake that was coiled up, ready to strike, and he had red eyes, right? He had red eyes. So it had, and it's looking at her like it was trying to put her in a trance. So I seen this big old rattlesnake, and I hit it on top of the head with a hoe. When I hit it, it was just white smoke, sulfur. It smelled the sulfur, and there was no rattlesnake there. So I just did the sign of the cross. So there was a lot of activity that nobody knows about, because uh, there's a lot of things that I can tell you right now about a lot of things that people don't know about, we kept amongst ourselves, because when you're trying to figure out things, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. At that time, I wasn't as spiritual strong as I am now, but I know what we were dealing with, and we were dealing with some demonic forces that were coming up against us, because it wanted, I believe, destruction, not just of my mother. It wanted destruction of the whole family, and but it didn't happen that way, of the whole family. But there was a lot of spiritual activity happening that I believe it had to do with those cults that I'm talking about. There's witches, there's warlocks. That's when I made the video the other day. I brought that. I said what I said about Wilson County, because there's a lot of witches and warlocks. There was a lot more involved in what happened. I believe to what happened to my mother. There was a lot more involved in that spiritually. That's why I said what I said. But like a lot of these people, they're not here no more. They're gone. They're already deceased. But that does exist there in Willacy County. It's been existing for a long time, and I've never been afraid of these individuals that temper with that mess with that. I've never been afraid, because I know that the power of Jesus Christ, of the Heavenly Father, is a lot greater than anything that anybody that practices that can throw my way. I can overcome them with a love foundation. Tying, binding, and rebuking them. It'll go back to them 7 times fold. But the reason I was trying to share the story of the Lechuza, it was supposed to be a quick video, but I've seen it. I witnessed it for it to be a true thing. I wish that when all these things happened to me, that we had the technology that we have now, because I would have been able to record it. I mean, I would have been able to record it, to capture it on video, on camera. So when I see something nowadays, like when I see something on YouTube, or there's somebody post that they see something, I actually really don't see nothing, but I'm more sure that if I would have recorded the times that I had the incidents with the Lechuzas or the witches or this demonic figures, shadow figures, that I had that technology to be able to record it, the people would see it and they'd be like, oh my God. But I think that wasn't for everybody to see. It was just something meant for me to overcome, to go through it spiritually, to become stronger, as a test of faith. But yes, I'm just making this video talking about the Lechuzas, because they do exist, and they can manifest, shapeshift. I guess they have those abilities, but we're stronger because they've already sold their soul, and they belong to somebody else already. We ourselves, we're strong spiritually, and we still have our opportunity to make it to the kingdom of heaven. So what they try to do is try to make it seem to you, right? Because they could say they're a witch, a warlock, a Satanist, or whatever, but they do that to try to scare you, to see if they can find an opening, or they'll look to you in their eyes, and sometimes when they look in your eyes, they start crying, right? They start crying, the tears start coming out of their tear ducts. But when that happens, it's because they're trying to transfer the negative attachments that they have upon you. So when they're doing that, they're trying to cry, and they're trying to make eye contact with you. This is what you do. You say, I rebuke in the name of Jesus Christ. When you do that, they're going to turn around and run away. Because what you're doing when you're saying that is sending it back to them seven times fold. And this is why I am who I am now. This is the works that I do now. And Jesse and the family. I know on both sides of the family that exist. There's family members on both sides. Yeah, on my side, CS, and on the De La Fuente side, with the Rodriguez side, that there's people within the families, right? That those are the Lechuza, those are the witches and the warlocks that try to come up against us spiritually, where we've lost loved ones, right? But that's why the reason I create this site, Spiritual Encrypted Encounters, to talk about this freely and openly. I wish I could do it where I could get a lot of more people, but I know this is late right now, and it's something that I just wanted to talk about right now. Maybe it's not the right time to talk about it, but it's never too late to talk about something like that. All I know is, of all my experiences that I witnessed, that I never gave them power, right? Power of the mind through fear. I never feared them since I was growing up to now, and I never will, because I know that there's a higher power, where's the power of Jesus Christ that could overcome anything that comes at me in a negative way. But anyways, thank you for viewing. You know the deal, cuz how it is down there in South Texas, and I don't think it's just down there in Raymondville. It was all throughout the valley, man. I think I was sharing a story where in Hargill, I got invited to there was a elections, and during the elections I had barbecues where you would get a free plate of food just to get the people have barbecue cookouts just so they can get your vote, right? So my cousins invited me to go over there to get a free plate of barbecue, and I went. I ate, and there was this female that invited me to go to her house, and I went to her house, and we're just chilling, drinking. I was drinking a beer, and it was already going to be 10 o'clock, and she said that I had to leave because that I didn't want to be there at 10 o'clock. I was like, why do I have to leave? I said, because they're going to say if it turns 10 o'clock, it's going to be too late, and they're going to be here. They're going to come, and you're going to be trapped here. So you have to leave before 10. And I'm like, what is she talking about, So I'm there still drinking and talking, and next thing you know, it turned 10 o'clock. I said, don't go outside. They're going to be there. And I'm like, what is he talking about? It's like, is she crazy? That's what I'm thinking. I was like 16, 17. So I think it was 16. Or no, 17 probably. Can't remember how old I was. 16, 17. Next thing you know, she said, don't open the door. They're out there. They're out there. So when I opened the door, I seen them. There was like 30, 40 people standing in the yard. They were standing in the yard, Primo. They were standing in the yard. And there was some on the dirt road, and there were some standing in the woods. They were all standing in a trance-like state. And to me, it felt like they were part of a convict or a cult. So they're all standing there just staring at me, and they're staring at me, and they're not saying nothing. So I'm looking at them, and then I start saying the Our Father, and as soon as I start saying the Our Father, they all take off running. They take a run and go back running into the woods, where they came from, I guess. So they run into the woods. So I get out of the house, and I don't run. I just walk back to where my cousins were, and until I missed time to go. They were drunk. I threw them in the vehicle, and I got in the car and I drove. Got out of Hargill, Texas, but I know that exists down there. In Hargill, it's pretty hot and heavy, man. That's the most hot and heavy. I remember seeing something like that at our house one day. I seen four people. They were standing just like that at the backyard. In our backyard, they were dressed in black. Or one night, I remember this. It was my Ernest was there when that happened, and they were standing in their backyard. and we went over there towards the back, and then things just faded out, like disappeared. Uh, but yeah, the spiritual battle does exist. The balance. I don't know if I'm going to leave this story on here, but I just wanted to talk about the Lechuzas. Went from the Lechuzas to many. I got so many stories to tell you, cousin. I don't know that there's a lot of people out down there that still live there, that they're afraid to talk about this because they don't want to get targeted spiritually. They're afraid of talk about certain things. Uh, the only thing I know about all this is you cannot win a spiritual battle through magic. It's got to be done through Jesus Christ. That's the way you can overcome the enemy, or for those that practice black arts. Is through prayer and stuff like that. But anyways, primo, uh, if you, I don't know. What I'm trying to do is get on here on Facebook one day and just get somebody to go live with me, on this group, so we can talk about certain things, or they could have the floor and talk about whatever they want to talk about. I know Prima Susie has been through a lot. There will be one person that I might want to try to see if they want to go live with me on spiritual cryptid encounters and just talk freely about something. It's this month of Halloween, or whatever, and maybe we can talk about certain things. And maybe I'm gonna make this is what I'm gonna do after I make this video. I'm gonna see who wants to go live with me. See who wants to go live. Probably tomorrow during the day. Saturdays, sometimes we like to go dancing, so maybe Sunday or during the day, somebody want to go live so they can share their story. I'm gonna place something on the site in that manner. But anyways, primo, uh, I already did another podcast. Also, I did it already. They said it's not going to be ready till November 1st. So this one is like a radio podcast that I did. Uh, but yes, I'm trying to do a lot of good things, positive things. But I know y'all have a lot of stories yourself of what y'all happened to you. I mean, you had that. We all, I guess, struggle spiritually in some kind of way, right? Because what happens is it's trying to lure us a certain way. It wants us to be a certain way, like it wants us to have anger, it wants us to have hatred, it wants us to do the wrong things, it don't want us to do anything right. I remember the peer pressure of that down there in South Texas, and I'm glad I left. And I had friends that would do a lot of things, but I chose not to be like them. I chose to be me. That's why I joined the military. And I got out of there, man. I couldn't be around all that kind of stuff, or to be a certain way that way, because it's not worth it. To me, it was never worth it. I always wanted to do something. I wanted to do it the right way. Uh, but yeah, primo. Uh, Maybe that's what I want to do. I want to see who's willing to share a story. I want to hear some stories besides the stories that I have to share, other people's stories. So maybe we can, I can relate to what they're going through. I know I got some other cousins. They used to live there at that house, at our house, that they were the ones that lived in those rooms where all that activity was, and maybe I might get one of them to share their stories with me. So I might get a contact with them, and if they're willing to share some of the stories that they witnessed that happened to them in the back room, because it used to be that back room, and there was another addition, like two other parts of that house. It wasn't always just long. They had other rooms that they had made, but those rooms got, they took them down. But there was a lot of activity there, a lot of, and it was dealing with, I believe, what my uncle was practicing. I think that's why there was a lot of activity, and it left a negative residue right there in the last room. But yes, primo. Well, that's it for me for right now, cuz. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, and You have a beautiful evening. God bless, cuz. Peace out.